Breitbart. I'm the Senior Vice President for ConnectALL. Thank you for joining us for the ConnectALL Deployment Program Request for Applications Information Session. We are thrilled to have you with us on this historic milestone in this national effort to extend connectivity to all locations in the country, and our focus here on doing that in the state of New York. Go to the next slide. This session is being recorded. We will email the recording and the slides out to all participants, and we post it to our website. Important links and announcements as we go through the document and the presentation will be posted in the meeting chat. So you don't have to take notes. Everything will be offered to you that way. And we'll also include those links in the email when we send it out. If you have questions, you can email any of your questions to connectalldeployment@esd.ny.gov. And as we go through the presentation, you can use the Q&A function at the bottom of your menu. We will not be answering questions during this session. We will review the questions and post answers to the ConnectALL website. Next slide. We'll start with a ConnectALL overview. You'll hear from me in these first couple sections, and then I'll hand it over to Kat Lau from HRNA Advisors, our consulting team. As many of you are already familiar with ConnectALL, but this is Governor Hochul's initiative to transform New York's digital infrastructure, build a robust broadband marketplace, and bring affordable, reliable, high-speed internet service to all New Yorkers. The governor announced 5 signature programs as part of ConnectALL. We are focused today on the ConnectALL Deployment Program to serve unserved and underserved locations across the state. Next slide. Our 3 overarching goals and mandate as part of ConnectALL is to connect all residents and businesses to high-speed, reliable, and affordable broadband, to have for the state a robust and competitive internet marketplace to support economic development and benefit New Yorkers with consumer choice, and 3, achieve a statewide mobilization with partners in government, in regional, county, local, and tribal government, and in the private, nonprofit, and academic sectors to end the digital divide. Next slide. So our focus today, as I said, is the ConnectALL Deployment Program, and in particular, the use of $644 million in federal funding to reach the eligible locations across the state. Many of you have participated in our challenge process at the state level, in the broadband data collection program at the FCC, and just a robust partnership and collaboration. I want to thank you for that effort as we've tried to pinpoint these eligible locations that do not have broadband service today and do not have an existing plan or commitment to reach those locations. So we are able to really focus in on these 69,111 eligible locations that are included in the ConnectALL Deployment Program RFA. That number is still subject to change as new enforceable commitments or information is brought to bear. Next slide. So now I'll provide an overview of the application. The ConnectALL Deployment Program Request for Applications, or we may use the acronym RFA in the presentation or in the document. It's available at our website, broadband.ny.gov, and the deadline for responses is February 7th, 2025. The goal is to identify and select sub-grantees to deploy high-quality, reliable broadband service to unserved and underserved locations across the state. The eligible applicants are those who have completed a pre-qualification application, which if you have not yet attained pre-qualified status, you can continue with any correspondence you may have about that, or complete the, or for others, you complete the pre-qualification application now. The pre-qualification application materials and information are available on the ConnectALL website. That includes an information session we did about that application and the related Q&A. So that information is available as part of that separate application document, but that must be completed to be eligible for this program. And then eligible applications also may be corporations, local units of government, regional planning boards, local development corporations, or 501c3 not-for-profit corporations, or new consortia or partnerships to be eligible to apply for this program. And our goal here is that successful applicants will enter into an incentive proposal with ConnectALL for the awarded project, subject to approval by the National Telecommunications and Information Administration. Next slide. So as a component of the application, ConnectALL has published the final project areas on our website for applicants to view. Many of you, again, commented when we put the draft areas out for comment, and thank you for that participation. ConnectALL grouped all of the eligible locations into 308 project areas. The list of project area ID numbers and FCC location IDs for eligible locations included in each project area is available on the ConnectALL website, which is to say, the polygons and shapes on the map are really just boundaries grouping up the eligible locations, but the eligible locations themselves, are really the focus of the project. The applicants can also explore an interactive map view of project areas to get that overview. And please be aware that project areas may be revised before the final application deadline. We will provide a change log in the project area list and include information on changes in update emails that we can send out. But please refer to that change log to make sure that you've got the most up-to-date set of project areas. And again, that is due to, among other factors, information that may change regarding the status of locations within the presented project areas. Next slide. So I want to give you a breakdown of the structure and some of the key terms that we're using to apply to the different components. Because for every applicant, you must have a completed pre-qualification application. That's essentially one per applicant. For every project area, there is one application. So later when we get to the section on how to apply and you go to our consolidated funding application platform to submit an application, one application for each project area. And then within each project application, you can include up to 6 project proposals. And we'll go through that in a little bit more detail, how that breaks down by technology type, whether it's priority broadband project or reliable broadband project, and the coverage percentage, whether it's 100% coverage or an alternative percentage, either the secondary or where it's provided a third or tertiary coverage option for that project area. So again, each applicant can submit a project area application for up to as many of the 308 project areas as you decide. And then within each of those project area applications, you have the option of submitting up to 6 project proposals for each application. Next slide, and again, you'll see a little bit more detail on those. So for the pre-qualification application, as we have reviewed, that must be submitted before or also by the deadline of February 7th. That is now reopened for eligible applicants who did not submit in the pre-qualification window. Earlier in the pre-qualified applicants should submit, any conditionally pre-qualified applicants, I should say, should submit the revisions and updated information as instructed by ConnectALL. And an applicant only needs to pre-qualify once, regardless of the number of project areas that the applicant plans to apply for. Next slide. So again, applicants must submit a separate project area application for every project area they seek to serve. As we'll note later, well, again, as it says at the bottom, that you can clone information between project area applications. So if there's information that's going to be the same across different applications, you'll be able to clone that across applications. Each project area application covers one project area. There is no limit to the number of project area applications an applicant submit up to the total number of project areas that are included in the request for application. And if you seek to apply for more than one project area, again, submit a separate project area application for each project area, and you can clone information between project area applications within the consolidated funding application platform. So once you complete one, you'll be able to clone that information to submit many. Next slide. For project proposals, applicants may submit multiple project proposals within a project area application. The project proposals may vary by the coverage percentage, which is to say 100% secondary percentage that is included, that information is included with the project areas, as is in some cases a tertiary coverage percentage below the secondary percentage. And then they also may vary by broadband technology type, whether it's priority or reliable. The applicant must submit a 100% coverage proposal under at least one broadband technology type. Alternative coverage percentage proposals are optional. So every project area application must include either a 100% coverage proposal for priority broadband technology type, or 100% coverage proposal for reliable broadband project, or both. You can submit both, but you must submit at least one 100% coverage, and then you may also submit secondary coverage for any project area or tertiary coverage and tertiary coverage where that's provided. Next slide. So again, project proposals may vary by broadband technology type and or coverage percentage. Applicants may submit a priority broadband project proposal and or a reliable broadband project proposal. Priority broadband project proposals must reach eligible locations with end-to-end fiber. So to be a priority broadband project proposal, every eligible location within the coverage percentage must be reached with end-to-end fiber. Reliable broadband project proposals may include a mix of fiber and other technologies. So that includes cable modem, hybrid fiber coax technology, terrestrial fixed wireless technology, and then you can see the technologies that are not included under reliable broadband projects, and those are not included in this request for applications. Next slide. So applicants, again, as I said, must submit at least one 100% coverage proposal under at least one of the broadband technology types. ConnectALL has established secondary and in some cases tertiary coverage percentages below 100% for each project area. Each secondary or tertiary coverage percentage has a corresponding location count. So generally speaking, we're not asking you to do the math, but we are permitting that applicants choose which locations to exclude to match the secondary, tertiary coverage location count. So these secondary and tertiary coverage percentages give the applicant discretion in terms of which of the eligible locations within a project area to serve to meet the prescribed totals under those secondary or tertiary coverage locations, which means you can also choose which locations to exclude down from 100% to meet that total. So again, you have the discretion in meeting those totals, but those totals are set with each project area. Next slide. So again, just to reiterate, one pre-qualification application, one project area application per project area, up to the total number of project areas, and up to these 6 different formations of project proposals within a single application under this RFA. Next slide. So the application components, when you go to complete the application, obviously details regarding the applicant profile, which also will include the ID number of the pre-qualification application that you've completed, identifying the project area by ID, and those are generally categorized under the county or tribal nation that they aim to serve, and the project proposal type that you're submitting. Section 3 covers managerial capability with these components as you can see. And also just note, and this will be discussed in greater detail later on, that bolded items must be submitted as attachments in the Documents tab of the CFA application. Next slide. Section 4 encompasses the technical proposal, project details, location list, and again, generally, we're looking for you to complete the location list for the project area and affirm which locations you're serving under each percentage. The community anchor institutions list, which is optional, depending on whether you're seeking to include those in your application, as we'll discuss in the scoring criteria. Network design, professional engineer certification related to the network design and the required specifications. The proposed deployment schedule, and then other components that are included in that list and in the application, as well as the service details, which again, the bolded items must be included in the tab of the Documents tab of the CFA application. Again, you can continue to review this checklist, the intent to comply with the low-cost service requirements, the low-cost service option waiver request, the cost proposal, the pro forma matching funds waiver request if necessary, and the financial security letter of commitment. I think I skipped the description of environmental and historic preservation details, also included in the technical proposal. Next slide. Section 5 is where you can demonstrate local and tribal nation coordination, including the demonstrations of support from local, county, and or tribal nation governments, and the description of your public awareness campaign. And then lastly, the Section 6 includes the required grantee certifications and a section for additional information. Next slide. We also provide not only this information in the previous slides, but we also provide an application checklist to help you in preparing all of this information as you go through it, or as you plan to sit down in front of the consolidated funding application portal and enter and upload all the required information. Next slide. So I'm just going to give a little bit of an overview of what will happen after February 7th when you submit your applications. One of the first things we'll be able to do is evaluate average cost per location of all the proposals received to determine the threshold for which project proposals to review for each project area. So again, for every applicant, 308 project areas, up to 6 project proposals within each project application. So, part of our focus is going to be which of that level to focus in for each project area. So ConnectALL will review project proposals for a given project area in the following set of sequence, essentially. So the 100% coverage proposals for priority broadband projects, then secondary, tertiary coverage proposals for priority broadband projects. So why they're called the priority broadband projects, they are our priority. So we are focused on the maximum coverage under priority broadband. And then we will proceed to the reliable broadband projects, again, 100% coverage, then to secondary, tertiary coverage. And this will be for each project area, given the evaluation of cost and available funds. Within each project area, the proposals will then be scored with regards to this prioritization, where the competing proposals within those categories will then proceed to score them competitively for where we have the same project area, technology type, and coverage percentage, according to the criteria outlined in our initial proposal, and also included in the RFA. Note that ConnectALL may request proposals for additional coverage percentages and/or technology types at a later date. Next slide. As I just referenced, the scoring criteria you can see before you. There's a slight difference between the scoring criteria as applied to the priority broadband projects and the reliable broadband projects. In both cases, it's 30 points of the 100 available for the minimal BEAD program outlay, 15 points for affordability with respect to the lowest price gigabit service commitment, 30 points for fair labor practices, 1 point for speed to deployment, 10 points for local and tribal coordination, and then with respect to priority broadband projects, up to 14 points are available for connecting community anchor institutions, again, included in the CAI list as part of the application. Or in the case of reliable broadband projects, the 14 points are based on speed of network and other technical capabilities to differentiate among the types of approaches to reliable broadband. Next slide. So now we'll move into a section on how to apply, and I will hand it over to my colleague, Kat Lau from HRNA Advisors.
Thank you, Josh, and hi, everyone. Thank you for being with us today. So I'm just going to take us through the kind of nitty-gritty of how to put together your application for this program. Some of this is going to be a bit of a review of some of the materials that Josh already mentioned, but this is a little bit more of a consolidated view of everything in one place. So first, want to touch just briefly on the pre-qualification application materials. As Josh mentioned, applicants need to go through the pre-qualification application process in order to be eligible for this RFA. So if you already completed that earlier this year, some applicants are already pre-qualified. Others, as Josh mentioned, have instructions from ConnectALL on additional materials they need to submit. So please just follow any instructions you have received directly from ConnectALL. But otherwise, anyone going through pre-qualification for the first time is able to find all of the application materials available on the ConnectALL website. And just as a brief summary here, this is a list of all the different application templates and reference materials that are available online, along with the pre-qualification application itself. And the items that are listed here that have asterisks on them, those have been revised from the previous round of pre-qualification application. So if you did participate in that round, but are submitting revisions now, just note that some of these templates have changed. So please refer to the ConnectALL website for the latest and greatest. The pre-qualification materials will all be up and available through the February 7th deadline. That is the same for the RFA. But as you can see, there are a lot of materials here. So the takeaway should really just be start reviewing these as soon as possible if this is something that you are going to need to complete alongside your RFA response as well. Moving along, same slide, but showing the materials that are available for the RFA. So to support your project area applications, ConnectALL has provided several application templates listed on the left side of the screen here, as well as several different reference materials listed on the right. The note here in the bottom right is mentioning that we are planning to record a walkthrough of all of these materials, how and where to find them on the ConnectALL website, how to download them, how to look at the project area list to figure out which project area you want to apply for, what the project area ID number is, how to then use that project area ID number to find your location lists. All of that detail we will be providing a recorded walkthrough of to help guide you through those different pages on the website. And so ConnectALL will be sharing that recorded walkthrough, posting it to the website, as well as emailing it out to everyone who has registered for today's webinar. So if you're here right now, you will receive that in your inbox, and it will also be posted to the ConnectALL website so that anyone interested in participating in the program has that as a resource. This will be elaborated on further in that walkthrough, but just to quickly touch on how you go about finding your location list. As Josh mentioned earlier, all of the eligible locations for this program have been grouped by ConnectALL into 308 project areas. There is a list that is called the project area list that is linked from the ConnectALL website, and that has the full list of project area ID numbers, which also lists which counties and tribal nations the project area IDs fall into. It also lists the secondary and tertiary coverage percentages for each project area, and some information on environmental hazards present in each project area. So lots of information available within that project area list. The eligible location list is a different view of the same information, but goes into a bit more detail. So that actually has all of the individual FCC location ID numbers that are contained within each project area. So that is actually going to be your starting point for many applicants who already know specific locations that they plan to serve. You can refer to the eligible location list to see those location IDs mapped against project area numbers. So whichever way you access that information, whether it's through the project area list or the eligible location list, those documents will give you the project area ID number, and that is how you will locate the templates that you need to use for your application. So based on your project area ID number, again, linked through the ConnectALL website, you will be able to locate and download the appropriate location list template for your project area. And that template will be pre-populated with all of the FCC location IDs that are included in that project area, and will have several blank columns within the document that you will need to complete and then submit as part of your application. So you will see guidance within that template on which columns need to be completed for which project proposals. As we reviewed earlier, there are many different variations on the types of project proposals you can submit based on technology type and coverage percentage. The location list template will indicate for you which columns need to be completed for which technology types and which coverage percentages. So once all that information is filled in, you will then upload the completed location list template into your application within the CFA system, the CFA portal. One note here is that, again, just reiterating, one project area application per project area. So you can submit multiple project area applications if you're seeking to serve multiple project areas, but you will be able to clone applications if needed within the CFA portal to copy information between. So you would need to go through this same kind of data process of identifying the location IDs, the project area ID number, putting together your location list template. You will need to do that for any individual project area that you're applying for, but other information within your application can be cloned between. The next few slides here will be familiar to you if you've participated in any other ConnectALL programs, but this is just a walkthrough of how the CFA portal looks. So the link here, which is included on the website as well as within the RFA itself, is for the consolidated funding application. That is how ConnectALL processes applications for all of its funding opportunities. You will go to this website if you have participated in a previous program. You can go ahead and log in, but otherwise you can register for a new account and you will be sent a token, also known as a password, via email that you can use to access the system moving forward. Once you are logged in, you will click Create a New Application and fill in the fields here. The project name is just a reference name for what's going to show up in your own dashboard in the portal, so that's for your reference. We do recommend this naming convention that's shown here. This is also included in the application checklist, but this helps ConnectALL keep track of applications internally, so we do ask that you follow this. Next, you will need to select the program that your application will be tied to within the system. So this is the ConnectALL deployment program is located under the header Other NYS programs within the system. So you'll just have to scroll down the page a little bit, but you will see the ConnectALL deployment program there. You will also see the pre-qualification application within this same section of the portal. So if you are starting a new pre-qualification application, you would access it the same way here by selecting that program instead. But for the purposes of the RFA, we're going to check the box here for ConnectALL deployment program and move along, and you will actually then be put into the application itself. So the application begins with a couple of threshold questions. These are just kind of fail safes that the system puts in, but you basically just need to confirm that you are in fact applying for the ConnectALL deployment program and that you have reviewed all of the application materials and any addenda that ConnectALL has put out. Once you answer those threshold questions, you'll be able to click Proceed to the next page and get into the actual meat of the application. You will be presented with a screen here that asks you to select the region that your project is located in. So on the project area list that is, again, accessible through the ConnectALL website, we have listed all of the counties and tribal nations, but also regions that correspond to each project area. So you can select the appropriate region here and move forward with your application. Next, you will see the documents and questionnaire tabs. These are all of the questions that require responses for the application. So anything that requires uploading an attachment is going to be under the documents header, and any questions that require selecting multiple choice options or writing a long answer, response, or anything like that, that's going to be located under the questionnaire tab. Questions within these two sections do talk to each other for some extent. To some extent, there are some attachments, for example, that are required only if you answer a narrative question a certain way. So we do strongly recommend that, first of all, you read through the entire application before starting on putting together your answers, but also within the portal, you can toggle between the documents and questionnaire tabs if you need to cross-reference anything or double check whether a certain attachment is required or not. So that section of the application, you'll be able to easily navigate between. One note just on how the pre-qualification application connects to the RFA response. You will be asked within your project area application to reference the application number of your pre-qualification application. That's so that we can confirm that all applicants responding to this RFA have indeed completed the pre-qualification process. So within the dashboard of the CFA portal, you'll be able to see all applications you have in progress, all applications you've submitted. By the time you are working on your project area application, you should have submitted your pre-qualification application. And so within that dashboard, you'll be able to see the application number of that pre-qualification application, and you will need to cite that number in your project area application. So the screenshot below here on the screen shows that question within the project area application, which is just a field to enter the digits of your pre-qualification application number. Yes, that's, I think, all I needed to say on the slide. So moving forward. Once you have completed all of the attachment uploads, as well as the other narrative questions of the application, the final screen you will see in the portal is under the Review tab. You will see this map, which will ask you to select a point on the map for your project. The map does allow you to zoom in, so as precise as you can get to locate a point within your project area is great, but this placement on the map is not actually binding or and doesn't affect the evaluation of your proposal. So get as close as you can, but don't stress out too much if it's a little bit off. This just helps us have a general sense of the geographic distribution of our applications. The portal will require you to select this point on the map, and then you will have an acknowledgement button at the bottom of the screen just to confirm that you have reviewed all of the information that you're about to submit. It's all complete, it's all correct, and you're ready to submit. When you finish that acknowledgement at the bottom of this screen, that is the submission of your application. So you will not be able to make changes after you submit. So do make sure to actually do pause and review all of your answers and uploads prior to completing this screen. That is the process for the CFA portal for the deployment program. And again, we are planning to share a recorded walkthrough of accessing all the materials. That recorded walkthrough will also include a live version of this process in the CFA portal. So if any of that was confusing, rest assured you will see a demo of it that you can refer back to as a resource later. Now, just to speak briefly on a sort of parallel process that the ConnectALL office is running. As Josh mentioned, the project areas that are included in this request for applications are subject to change based on evolving information that ConnectALL is receiving about enforceable commitments and other updates to the status of locations. So in parallel to this request for applications, the ConnectALL office is collecting information from interested entities on location eligibility. So internet service providers or other entities who are participating in this RFA have an additional parallel opportunity to provide information to ConnectALL if they believe that certain locations should not be eligible for funding through this program. And there are 3 scenarios through which the ConnectALL office is collecting this information. So the first is if you know that a location is subject to an enforceable commitment that ConnectALL has not already included in its enforceable commitment deduplication process, you can submit information on that enforceable commitment. You can tell us the specific location IDs included, the details of who the commitment is with, and the expectations around the technology that's going to be delivered and when. In the second scenario, if you have reason to believe that there are locations that do not require mass market broadband service, like regular consumer grade broadband service, there is a template that ConnectALL has put together that you can complete and submit. And that, again, provides details on which specific locations, as well as a specific rationale for why you believe they should not receive mass market broadband service. And this is, these are reason codes that are specifically aligned with guidance from NTIA. And lastly, if you are an ISP and you already serve a location, or you will by the end of this year, 2024, you can submit evidence to that effect to ConnectALL. And similar to the previous 2 scenarios, you would need to submit a file that has all of the location IDs as well as details on the service available at those locations. I will note in the location already served scenario, as part of the RFA application, if you are applying for a project area in which you already serve certain locations or will by the end of this year, you will be able to indicate that in the location list template that you upload as part of your project area application. That process or that data submission through the location list template is only going to be relevant if these locations exist within the project area that you are applying for funding for through the RFA. However, if you as an ISP serve other locations that you want to let ConnectALL know about, even if you're not necessarily applying for funding for those specific project areas that include those locations, you can still share that information with ConnectALL, and that's why this is set up as sort of a parallel process. Any information on locations that you believe should not be eligible for funding through this program needs to be submitted to ConnectALL by January 17th if you want to ensure that the ConnectALL office reviews it before determinations are made for this program. So please keep that deadline in mind. There is a page set up on this specific topic on the ConnectALL website that has further details on all of the information that will need to be submitted in any of these scenarios, as well as much more detail on the evidentiary requirements for demonstrating that you already serve a location or will serve it by the end of this year. So the URL at the bottom of this page is where you can find more information on this updating information on location eligibility process. Okay, now back to a focus on the RFA. This is the overall selection timeline. So the RFA was issued on the 13th of this month. We are here currently on December 17th at the information session, and we are in the RFA submission period at this point. Over the next few weeks, ConnectALL will be hosting a series of technical assistance webinars. The first technical assistance resource will be a recorded walkthrough of the application materials, as I referenced earlier, but we do plan to host additional webinar sessions in January that will focus on different aspects of the application. So please keep an eye out in your email and on the program page on the website for more information about those. January 17th, as I mentioned on the previous slide, is the deadline for submitting updated information on location eligibility if you plan to participate in that process. And then, of course, February 7th, 2025 is the submission deadline for applications through this RFA. Following that February 7th deadline, through into early 2025, ConnectALL will be evaluating proposals, potentially engaging in negotiations with applicants, and potentially releasing additional solicitations. As Josh mentioned earlier, ConnectALL may request additional coverage percentages or additional technology types at a later point. So those, if applicable, those would happen in early 2025. And then in the spring, we expect to notify applicants of conditional awards. These are conditional because all of the applicants selected through this program will be included in ConnectALL's final proposal to NTIA, the National Telecommunications and Information Administration, as all of the funding for this program is provided through the federal BEAD program. All of ConnectALL's subgrantee selection is subject to NTIA's approval. So that submission will happen by July 25th, 2025, after which point NTIA will be reviewing and approving all of the details of that final proposal. So immediate next steps, immediate upcoming milestones for this process. The RFA is open today in the Consolidated Funding Application Portal. I know Rose has been dropping links into the chat throughout this session, and she has included the link directly to the portal. So feel free to create an account and start exploring the application within that portal. Slides and the recording from today's information session will be posted online on the ConnectALL website. And as I've mentioned, ConnectALL will be sharing a recorded walkthrough of how to access all of the RFA materials. In January into February, our updated information on location eligibility deadline, again, is January 17th, and the project area application deadline is February 7th. And then into the spring, as shown on the previous timeline slide, ConnectALL will be reviewing and evaluating, may reach out to applicants for follow-up on their applications for clarifications or to engage in negotiations. This link has also been dropped in the chat several times, but broadband.ny.gov is your one-stop shop for all information on this program. Please do stay tuned to that website for updates specific to this RFA, but also for information on other upcoming events from ConnectALL and other opportunities to engage. Based on that, I think we are through our content here. As Josh mentioned at the top, we are not going to be answering questions live today about the RFA, but do encourage you to submit your questions through the Zoom Q&A feature that is accessible through the Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom screen. We will be saving all of the questions that are submitted that way, reviewing those, and putting together written answers that we'll post on the website. If you don't want to submit or you're not ready to submit through the Q&A feature right now, you can also always email questions directly to connectall@esd.ny.gov. And same process, we will review those questions and put together definitive answers in writing that we will post publicly on the program website so that all applicants have access to that information. With that, I think we are ready to close out. So thank you to everyone for your time. Go ahead, Josh.
I was just going to say thank you, Kat, and thank you to everybody who has put questions in the Q&A section already, or who has already sent us questions at the email address. But I wanted to say thank you to Kat for work on the presentation, along with Aaron Conley from HRNA Advisors, Rose and Richie from ConnectALL for their work. Thank you. But also just wanted to take this time to thank the team at NTIA for their incredible efforts, particularly the career staff who just worked diligently to deliver this national effort and to support New York through this process. Really appreciate the work that they've done to make this opportunity possible for all of us across the state. We look forward to continued collaboration with NTIA and to reviewing your applications and continuing to collaborate with internet service providers, local governments, other entities all across the state to continue this Internet for All effort towards completion. Thank you very much for your time today and for your continued support of this program.
All right, with that, we will close out the webinar session. And once again, the slides and recording will be posted on the ConnectALL website within the next day or two. So we will be emailing those to you if you are here right now. We will be emailing those out to everyone who registered. Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon.